Great Britain is scheduled to compete at the 2016 Summer Paralympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, from the 7th of September to the 18th of September 2016. The first places the team qualified were for 6 athletes in sailing events. Administration. On the 19th of November 2014, the British Paralympic Association announced the appointment of Penny Briscoe as chef de mission to the British Paralympic team at Rio 2016. The association's president Tim Reddish will be head of delegation, while CEO Tim Hollingsworth will be Secretary General. On 3 August 2015, the BPA announced that Anna Scott Marshall would replace Jane Jones as Deputy Secretary General of the British delegation. Tim Reddish, head of delegation. Penny Briscoe, chef de mission. David Gurrell, Deputy Chef de Mission. Georgina Sharples, Deputy Chef de Mission. Tim Hollingsworth, Secretary General. Anna Scott Marshall, Deputy Secretary General. Dr. Stuart Miller, Chief Medical Officer. Tash Carpenter, Chief Press Officer. Funding. As with previous games, UK Sport was the body responsible for allocating elite funding for Paralympic sports. In December 2012, a record £347 million of funding for Olympic and Paralympic athletes was announced, with the aim of becoming the first nation in recent history to win more medals at the Games following being the host nation. 3 sports, wheelchair fencing, goalball and 5-a-side football, had all the funding withdrawn, a decision that was confirmed following an appeal process. On 5 February 2015, UK Sport announced that funding would be restored to wheelchair fencing for the Rio cycle. Disability classifications. Every participant at the Paralympics has the disability grouped into one of 5 disability categories. Amputation. The condition may be congenital as sustained through injury or illness. Cerebral palsy. Wheelchair athletes. There is often overlap between this and other categories. Visual impairment, including blindness. Les autres. Any physical disability that does not fall strictly under one of the other categories, for example dwarfism or multiple sclerosis. Each Paralympic sport then has its own classifications, dependent upon the specific physical demands of competition. Events are given a code, made of numbers and letters, describing the type of event and classification of the athletes competing. Some sports, such as athletics, divide athletes by both the category and severity of the disabilities. Other sports, for example swimming, group competitors from different categories together, the only separation being based on the severity of the disability. Archery. Great Britain earned 9 spots for Rio based on the performance at the 2015 World Archery Para-Championships. The team earned 3 spots in the compound open event, 2 for men and 1 for a woman, earned 2 spots in the recurve open, 1 man and 1 woman, earned 4 spots in the W1 event, 2 men and 2 women. The first 2 spots were earned by Joe Frith and John Walker, with 2004 Paralympian John Kavanagh winning the country's 3rd spot. Jessica Stratton's bronze medal at the event gave the country the 4th spot. John Stubbs and Mel Clark then earned the country's 5th and 6th spots. Other archers assisting in qualifying spots included Michael Hall, David Phillips and Tanya Nadaraja. In April 2016, Nathan McQueen secured a 10th quota for Great Britain at the Continental Qualifying Tournament held during the 2016 European Para-Archery Championships. On 21 June, the British Paralympic Association announced the names of the 10 archers who will represent Team GB in Rio. On 9 July, it was announced that the World Archery Federation had given a bipartite invitation to Vicky Jenkins to compete in the women's compound W1 event. The qualifiers in the mixed team events are also entitled to compete in the individual events. Individual team athletics. Great Britain secured a first quota in athletics for Rio when David Weir finished second in his classification at the 2015 IPC Marathon World Championships in London. Another 15 athletes in the following list secured quotas for Great Britain by finishing in the first two places in their events at the 2015 IPC Athletics World Championships. The British Paralympic Association announced the first tranche of 13 athletes to be selected for Rio on the 23rd of June 2016. Kadina Cox had secured a second quota for Team GB in the women's T37 100 meters but has since been reclassified as a T38 athlete. On the 26th of July, the British Paralympic Association announced the remaining members of the British athletics team to compete in Rio. F55 discus thrower Claire Harvey was forced to withdraw from the team due to injury. Men track field. Women track field boccia. Great Britain achieved qualification in the BC1 half class by winning the gold medal at the 2015 European Teams and AMP Pairs Championships. Great Britain secured qualification for Rio in the BC3 and BC4 pairs by finishing among the top 4 previously unqualified nations when the final BizFed World Rankings were announced at the end of April 2016. As Great Britain has won quotas in all of the events, they must include at least 2 women competitors across the 3-team combinations. On the 15th of July 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the names of the 10 athletes who will represent Team GB in Rio. Individual key CP equals competition partner pairs and teams cycling. Great Britain secured 1 quota place in both men's and women's events in Rio by finishing 7th and 2nd respectively in the NPC-UCI Paracycling European Nations Ranking lists as at the 31st of December 2014. Further quotas were gained from world ranking points in April 2016. On the 17th of June 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced a team of 11 cyclists and 4 pilots. On the 1st of August, the final 2 cyclists were announced. Dual Paralympian Kadina Cox, aiming to be the first British Paralympian to compete in 2 sports at the same games since 1992 and the first to win medals in 2 sports since Isabel Newstead in 1988, was added to the cycling team for both track and road races, having already been named in the athletics team, and Lewis Rolfe was added to the track team. On the 24th of August, 3 more exceptional announcements were made following the decision by the International Paralympic Committee, upheld by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, to exclude Russia from the 2016 Paralympic Games as a consequence of the state-sponsored doping program uncovered in the McLaren report. Paralympics GB announced 7 new athletes who inherited quota places vacated by the Russian team, among them cyclists Crystal Lane, James Ball and his pilot, a former Olympian Craig McLean. Road track pursuits and time trial sprints equestrian. Great Britain were one of 3 nations to qualify a team for dressage via the results at the 2014 FEI World Equestrian Games, where Lee Pearson, Sophie Christiansen, Sophie Wells and Natasha Baker won gold in the team event. On the 8th of March 2016, the FEI confirmed that Great Britain had achieved an additional quota in the individual dressage competition. The 5 riders selected by the British Paralympic Association to represent Great Britain in Rio were announced on the 14th of July. Individual team football 7-a-side. Great Britain secured qualification for Rio by finishing 5th at the 2015 Cerebral Palsy Football World Championships. The draw for the tournament was held on May 6 at the 2016 Pre-Paralympic Tournament in Salou, Spain. Great Britain was put into Group A with Ukraine, Brazil and Ireland. The tournament where the draw took place featured 7 of the 8 teams participating in Rio. It was the last major preparation event ahead of the Rio Games for all teams participating. Great Britain finished 4th after losing 2-3 to the Netherlands in the third-place match. Going into the Rio Games, England was ranked 7th in the world, while Scotland was 9th, Northern Ireland was 13th and Wales was unranked. No Great Britain team was ranked. On the 13th of June 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the selection of the 14 members of the British 7-a-side squad. Pool B table judo. On the 11th of February 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the names of the 4 judokas selected to fill the quotas secured by Great Britain at Rio 2016. A 5th was added on the 24th of August 2016 following the exclusion of Russian athletes for state-sponsored doping. Paracanoeing. Great Britain secured 4 quotas at the 2015 ICF Canoe Sprint World Championships where paracanoeing formed part of the program. Britain secured further quotas in the men's KL1 and KL2 classes at the 2016 ICF Paracanoe Sprint World Championships, giving them representation in all 6 events at the Games in Rio. The squad of 6 athletes was named in June 2016 and includes Jeanette Shippington, who has won 12 Paralympic swimming medals at previous Games, Emma Wiggs, who competed in 2012 in the sport of sitting volleyball, and 2012 Rowan Nickbaton. Paratriathlon. Great Britain secured a quota in the women's PT4 classification at the 2015 ITU World Paratriathlon Championships. In March 2016, Lauren Steadman and Alison Patrick met the automatic selection criteria set by British Triathlon by winning gold medals at a ITU World Paratriathlon event held in South Africa. The selection still has to be verified by the British Paralympic Association in June, when the other members of the paratriathlon team will also be selected. On the 15th of July 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the selection of 11 athletes to compete in the inaugural Olympic paratriathlon competition in Rio. Lauren Steadman participated in the Rio Test event, winning the PT4 class in a time of 1 hour 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Powerlifting. Great Britain secured 4 quotas for Rio 2016. On the 18th of April 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the 4 powerlifters who have been selected to represent Great Britain in Rio. Rowing. Great Britain secured qualification in all 4 Paralympic classes at the 2015 World Rowing Championships. On the 30th of June 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the British rowing squad selected for Rio. Qualification legend. FA equals final A, FB equals final B, R equals repechage. Sailing. Great Britain qualified a boat for all 3 sailing classes at the Games through the results at the 2014 Disabled Sailing World Championships, held in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. 2012 Summer Paralympics gold medalist Helena Lucas secured a British place in the 2.4 Mr. event by winning the silver medal at the championships. Alexandra Rickham and Nikki Birrell won silver to qualify a boat in the SKUD 18 class, and a crew also qualified for the 3-person sonar class. On the 28th of April 2015, Helena Lucas became the first British athlete to be selected to compete at either the Olympic or Paralympic Games in Rio when she was chosen to represent Great Britain in the 2.4 Mr. Sailing class. On the 1st of March 2016, Paralympics GB announced the selection of the 5 sailors who will represent Great Britain in the SKUD and sonar classes in Rio. Shooting. Great Britain secured 3 quota places at the 2014 IPC Shooting World Championships. Britain secured 3 further quotas at the 2015 IPC Shooting World Cup in Croatia. Further quotas were achieved at the World Cup event held in the USA later in 2015. On 8 April 2016, the IPC announced that Issy Bailey was one of 11 shooters to be issued with a bipartite invitation to compete in Rio. On 10 June 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced the names of the 10 shooters who will represent Team GB in Rio. Great Britain had secured a second quota in the 10 meters air pistol SH1 class, but following the death in May of Roy Carter, this was not taken up. Swimming. Great Britain secured 11 quotas at the 2015 IPC Swimming World Championships after finishing in the top 2 places in Paralympic class disciplines. On 16 May 2016, the British Paralympic Association announced a squad of 31 swimmers to compete in Rio. Although named in the initial squad, injury and health problems forced Tully Kearney to pull out a few weeks before the Games began. Squad: Jonathan Booth, Stephen Clegg, Joseph Craig, James Crisp, Ryan Crouch, Jonathan Fox, Thomas Hammer, Ollie Hind, Michael Jones, Sasha Kindred, Aaron Moores, Andrew Mullen, Scott Quinn, Lewis White, Matthew Wiley, Jessica Jane Applegate, Claire Cashmore, Bethany Firth, Charlotte Henshaw, Abby Kane, Harriet Lee, Amy Maron, Stephanie Millwood, Rebecca Redfern, Ellie Robinson, Susie Rogers, Hannah Russell, Ellie Simmons, Stephanie Slater, Alice Ty. Table tennis. Rob Davis secured qualification for Rio by winning a gold medal at the 2015 Para-Table Tennis European Championships. In November 2015, Aaron McKibben achieved qualification for Rio by winning a gold medal at the China Open. In addition to the 2 places already achieved, Great Britain secured a further 10 quotas based on the ITTF Para-Table Tennis rankings as at 31 December 2015. On 8 March 2016, the British Paralympic Association confirmed the selection of the 12 table tennis players who will represent Great Britain in Rio. Men-Women teams. Wheelchair basketball. Great Britain's men's and women's wheelchair basketball teams secured qualification for Rio at the 2015 European Wheelchair Basketball Championship. Great Britain named the men's squad on the 20th of June 2016. Men's tournament. During the draw, Brazil had their choice of which group they wanted to be in. They were partnered with Spain, who would be in the group Brazil did not select. Brazil chose Group B, which included Iran, the United States, Great Britain, Germany and Algeria. That left Spain in Group A with Australia, Canada, Turkey, the Netherlands and Japan. Women's tournament. As hosts, Brazil got to choose which group they were put into. They were partnered with Algeria, who would be put in the group they did not choose. Brazil chose Group A, which included Canada, Germany, Great Britain and Argentina. Algeria ended up in Group B with the United States, the Netherlands, France and China. Wheelchair fencing. Great Britain qualified 2 athletes to compete in wheelchair fencing via the IWASF World Rankings as at the 28th of May 2016. On 5 July 2016, the British Paralympic Association confirmed the selections of Piers Gilliver and Dimitri Couture to represent Team GB in Rio. Wheelchair rugby. Great Britain's national wheelchair rugby team secured qualification for Rio at the 2015 International Wheelchair Rugby Federation European Championship. On the 12th of May 2016, Paralympics GB announced the squad of 12 wheelchair rugby players who will represent Great Britain in Rio. Great Britain was scheduled to open play in Rio against Australia on September 14. The second game was scheduled to be against Canada on September 15. The final game of group play is against Brazil on September 16. Great Britain entered the tournament ranked number 5 in the world. Wheelchair tennis. Great Britain qualified for 10 out of a possible 11 individual quotas in the wheelchair tennis events in Rio based on the ITF rankings as her 23. May 2016. On the 28th of June 2016, the British Paralympic Association confirmed the 10 athletes who will represent Team GB in Rio.